Hello and welcome again back to the Hutchinson Veterans Outreach Program. Today we are here at the McLeod County Veterans Service with Jim Lowry and Brianna Lowry.
Yep.
Now, got to clear this one up. Is there a relation here?
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm originally from southern Minnesota. She's from right here in the local area, and it's just a fluke that we happen to have the same last name.
Well,
McLeod County has a very definite policy about nepotism.
Yes. Okay. Now, Jim, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the staff here. I know you've got a few of them, but I know there's Cassandra who's not here. So if you want to tell me a little bit about who all you have in your office here.
We're probably the smallest department in McLeod County. Okay, I'm the veteran service officer. I've been here 18 years.
Okay.
Persian Gulf and Iraq War veteran. Brianna has been here for almost a year now.
Yeah.
An Afghanistan veteran. Okay. Cassandra, who's not here today, is currently on active duty.
Wow.
And this will be her third tour of active duty, and she's currently overseas. And we're hoping she gets back in very shortly. But again, she's got 3 tours in the Iraqi theater. And then our administrative assistant is Molly. She's the first face of the office, who you hear on the phone, who you walk in the door and see, and she runs our calendars like a sergeant, even though she was never in the service. And then as we talked about a little bit later, we'll talk about our van drivers.
Okay, so now we're here at the McLeod County offices, and now I know you guys have moved from across the way there to the new office, and you're located right across, I believe, from the Gas and Go.
Yep, we're here in the McLeod County Government Center, which is at the intersection of Chandler Avenue and Interstate Highway 212 on the south side of Glencoe. We moved from the north side of Glencoe by the hospital when the county consolidated its offices and created the new government center. Staff from 4 different buildings were brought together here. We are one of them. Next week, the 13th, is the anniversary of the day we moved.
Very nice, very nice. Gonna have donuts?
I don't know. That's a good question. We're kind of shy about donuts in our office, but there may be some cheering going on.
There
It's been a
you
good
go.
year getting settled.
So can you explain a little bit about what the McLeod County Veterans Services does?
Well, the first thing we like to do is we like to make sure people know we are not the VA. The VA is a federal agency, United States Department of Veterans Affairs. So that's one of the key things. We interact with them, but we are not them. What we are is a department under the county commissioners here in McLeod County. And they give us our direction, they give us our funding. We're appointed by the county under state statute, and that gives us access to information, databases, and training. We act as a liaison, a go-between for veterans and their families, and interact with different agencies that provide benefits to veterans. Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, State of Minnesota, even the local county has benefits, and our job is to act on their behalf. That's our primary function.
Okay.
Our second function is to help represent the county board with the different veterans organizations that are here in the county. Even for a small county, a lot of people don't know there are 8 American Legion posts, 3 VFW posts, and a Disabled American Veterans chapter here. Not to mention other ancillary auxiliaries and units that are associated with them. We've also formed a McLeod County Veterans Association where all of them are represented. So we act as the county's representative to those organizations for questions they have about how government's operating, what's the priorities being set by the county board. And then the last official function we have is we are appointed as deputies here in McLeod County by the recorder.
Oh, nice.
Not the sheriff, the recorder.
Just a deputy.
Yeah, and our functions is we do all the handling and recording of veterans' records. discharges and such. We do that for the county recorder, who's tasked to do that by the state of Minnesota.
Okay, so if a veteran is trying to, say, get a hold of some copy of their records, they would come to you? Okay, or...
And that's something that we can help obtain for them. There's different avenues to get those records.
Okay.
If the veteran was discharged in Minnesota, most likely, hopefully, we have it in a record system that we have called DADS. So we can look up their information through DADS and see if their discharge is in there. If it's not, there's different avenues we're going to have to take. And currently at this time with COVID, NPRC, the National Archives, is basically very far behind due to being shut down for a period of time. So to obtain those records are going to take a longer amount of time, unfortunately. But there's other different avenues too, depending on when they got into the service and got out of the service, as to where we possibly could get their records.
And what they did with their records when they got out of the service.
Right.
You know, did they take the time to come by and put their records on file, get them officially recorded like they were suggested to do? If they took the time to do that, we have them as a permanent record here.
Okay.
If they got out of the service and were living in Meeker County, Washington County, Scott County, they're in those records. And the system she talked about, DADS, is a discharge search engine that searches throughout the state of Minnesota for those records.
Very nice.
If we can't find them there, the state of Minnesota has its own discharge database.
Okay.
That's something that exists when a person left the service. There's one little box on their discharge that says, provide a copy of my discharge to the state of X, where I'm going to.
Okay.
And if they check that box, then it's going to be in the state database. If they served in Minnesota in the National Guard, that's going to be in the National Guard Bureau database. All of those are local. Sometimes we pick up the phone and we will call, oh yeah, when I left the service, I settled in Martin County because that's where my parents were, but then I moved. We'll call Martin County and there it is. So it takes a little time to do that. If it's in another state, if it's at the federal level, that's going to take us some time to get.
And that's where we recommend when anyone who's coming out of the service that they go to their veteran service officer at that time so it can be recorded, so that you do have it on file for even in the future, home loans, different things that you could be eligible for. So it's making sure that you always have a way to obtain those records in the future.
We find a lot of veterans not sure whether they did that or not.
Yeah.
We tell them, pick up the phone and call us. We'll tell you if it's here. We'll take the time now to track it down when it's not an issue, as opposed to waiting to the last minute when you're scrambling to find a document.
Exactly.
And now we're behind the power curve.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter whether you're out 2 days or out 20 years, you should actually get a hold of your representatives for your county and make sure that you get your paperwork.
I definitely recommend it, because then you can see what you're eligible for by bringing those either 214s or NGBs to your veteran service officer. You can know what you're eligible for. So, and then we always have it on file too.
Very nice, very nice. Now I know that we were talking about drivers. And now, how many vans do you have from McLeod County and drivers?
Yeah, well, we have a transportation program here, as many counties in Minnesota do.
Yeah.
The purpose of which is to help veterans get to and from their medical appointments, specifically VA medical appointments. Because we don't have a VA here in McLeod County. You've got to travel to Minneapolis, St. Cloud, maybe other places for that VA appointment. So getting there is a challenge, and we don't want that to be a barrier to veterans getting to their care. So we, like many counties, have established a transportation program. Ours was started by the local Veterans Association back in 1992, and they had one little minivan. And it would go a couple of days a week to the VA hospitals. Over time, that's grown to where we now have 4 SUVs and a wheelchair-capable van.
Very nice.
And to help us operate those, we have a pool of 8 drivers. A lot of different places may have 1 or 2 drivers. Every county program is different. The joke is there's 87 counties in Minnesota. There's 87 different transportation programs.
Okay.
But ours, we've got multiple drivers and multiple vehicles. So it gives us the flexibility to go where the veteran needs to go on the day the veteran needs to go there. We don't go to St. Cloud on special days, Minneapolis on other days. We go where the veterans need to go. If we need to send 2 vans to the same place, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, if we need to take somebody to a medical appointment that the VA has set up in Rochester, somewhere in the metro area, other than the VA facilities, we'll do that. Not everybody else is capable. And one of the unique things of our program is we'll pick the veteran up at their home. If they need a spouse or an escort to go with them to help them get around, we'll let them ride along as well. But we'll pick them up at their home, take them to the appointment, and when the appointment's done, we'll bring them back. Which is a major change over the years, and right now with all the COVID issues, is great because you're not packed into a van with a bunch of other strangers at the time.
And do you know how much those services cost to?
We request a $10 round trip donation for the veteran. If a spouse goes along, we ask for another $5. That money goes into the account that actually purchases the replacement vans.
Okay.
And that's important because we put about 40,000 to 50,000 miles on in a given year. And we transport a little over 400 veterans to their appointments during that same time. So, you know, taking care of the vans is covered by our county budget. Replacing them is covered by these donations. If it causes a true financial hardship, we can waive that. For the wheelchair van, which, as people know, those vehicles are a little more expensive.
Yeah.
We ask for a $35 round trip donation, and we waive any requirement for an escort because in most cases those individuals need an escort to ride with them.
Exactly. And to be able to get a hold of this program or get into this program, who would somebody contact?
Just call in our office. The main line is 864-1268, and then basically getting in touch with either Molly, our admin assistant, or just one of us too, and we can actually put you on the schedule. We do recommend that veterans are letting us know as soon as they have those appointments, because we have been, with COVID and only having one van and one veteran, they do fill up fast. So we do suggest that the best thing to do is giving us notice as soon as those appointments do come up. And they could be months out. It's just knowing that you have that van guaranteed. So just calling our main office is a way to do it. I mean, and you can email us too on our site. We do have our email on there, so you can email us through there too.
And we'll put the site on somewhere down here, somewhere.
On the screen, great.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the interesting parts is, like she's saying, is since before the holidays and now since the holidays, we've had days when we've had every vehicle on the road. So it's important to let us know as soon as you have an appointment, reserve the van. We can always tweak the times, move the date, but you want to get on the schedule right away and not let that stop you getting to your appointments in a timely manner.
Exactly, and usually with the VA, they do schedule months out.
Majority of the time, yeah.
So it is really handy to know that you not only have your appointment, but you have your ride set up.
Right.
There is one key caveat that is important. While we are providing that transportation and people have short notice appointments and long, we are not a qualified medical transport. You know, our guys aren't EMTs. They're driving you to and from appointments. So there are times when a more fitting organization will give you the medical care you need, and especially in emergency, 911 is still the place to call for an ambulance.
Exactly.
Not veteran
exactly.
services.
So I was going to ask you, because there has been a lot of issues over the last year with COVID. Is there anything that people need to know about coming down here? Are masks required as far as coming into the building that you know of? Shots or?
Currently, McLeod County does not have any restrictions. When you come to the doors, you'll have a sign that will say, you know, if you've been vaccinated, if you haven't been vaccinated, masks are highly encouraged. As employees, we kind of follow the lead of our customers. If a customer is masked, we put on masks. We have shields in our office where our secretary is physically partitioned from people coming in. But at this point, the county has not put restrictions on that. When we talk about our vans, we do require masks in our vans because it's an enclosed space. And when they get to the VA, they're going to have to wear a mask there anyhow.
Exactly.
So those kinds of things still apply. Now, as everything else in the news, day to day, those rules change.
Yep.
So if you're not sure, like any place else, call ahead and find out what's going on currently. And but in most cases, we will adjust to what makes our customers comfortable.
Now, can you tell me a little bit about what programs you work with the most?
The most that we work with is honestly enrolling veterans into the VA healthcare system, as well as helping them file service-connected disability compensation claims to the VA. So that is generally what the majority of our time is doing, is getting that access to care and getting that access to compensation for in-service service-connected disabilities. Generally, that's what we do, and then but there's also different things that we work with as well as, you know, as financial assistance, depending on, there's different avenues that they can take. You know, through the state, we do have SSAP that we can go through. We also have the association as a possibility as well, all depending on circumstances and what's going on with that veteran. But we do death and burial benefits as well. So we have an array of things that we help. It all depends on the federal, state, and county. There's different programs within each. You want to be more specific?
One of the things we've always said is, you know, our area of expertise, knowledge, very often is an inch deep and a mile wide. You know, we know a little bit about a lot of things, and the little bit we may know is who's the right person to go to with your question. You know, and for those that have experience with the military, we use acronyms just like the military does.
Oh, yeah.
SSAP, that's a state program, State Soldiers Assistance Program. So you'll hear us fall into that all the time. But a lot of it's knowing the right experts. For instance, a lot of young vets coming out of the service want to know about using their education benefits. State of Minnesota has an entire part of their staff that are counselors for education benefits, whether it's the GI Bill, whether it's disabled veterans education benefits, whether it's the state GI Bill, which a lot of people don't even know exists. Their job is to help people navigate the education piece. So what we do in most cases is we'll marry them up with that point of contact, either where they live or where they're going to go to school. And they'll help them walk through that process. There's other things like the healthcare enrollment that we do every day, and we'll do all of that right there in our office. So the key part is if there's a question, if we're not the right person, our job is to link you up with the right person.
Definitely, definitely. And that is really appreciated by a lot of different veterans, I know.
One of the interesting things to that is that they're not necessarily all governmental programs. You know, it may not just be a federal pension program, service-connected disability program, or VA hospital. It might be a state program, or it might be a local county program. But there are a lot of other organizations out there that provide assistance to vets, many of which they've heard on this program. Eagles Healing Nest, Saluting Community Heroes, Welcome Home Veterans, that also provide services here in our area. So maintaining ties with all of them is another thing that we try to do.
Exactly, exactly. It always works best when we have a whole community working for the whole community. So I was going to ask you both, basically a couple of direct questions. Why McLeod County?
So basically what brought me here is I moved back from California. I have done this work prior down in Illinois, and I absolutely loved it. I knew that when I was doing it down there, this is what I wanted to end my career in, and retire in this type of field, to work with veterans. I love working with a veteran and being a veteran. You have this understanding that usually just any sibling is not going to have. So I looked for it for a while, and this one popped up, and I just hopped on it, knowing that I've been in this area. I was born and raised in Hutchinson for most of my high school career, so I graduated out of Winthrop. But being a local, kind of was nice to come back to here, and unfortunately have to work with another Lauer. You know, it's a competition on who's the best, but best Lauer out here. But it's been fun. I'm glad to be back and doing what I absolutely love. So
now, Jim, you've been doing this for a while.
I'm in my 18th year.
Wow.
I went in the service at 17 from Minnesota. Grew up, part of my years growing up were in Glencoe.
Okay.
But I went in the service at 17, retired at 43. My wife is from this area. After the military moving us around the country and around the world, we wanted our kids to basically have roots where family was. And our families were still here in the area, and that's why we moved back. I was just luckily enough within a year of retiring from the military to be able to find a position like this where I could continue to be around soldiers, seamen, Marines, airmen, people in the service who served lots of the places I was able to see. I was able to visit World War II and Korea battlefields during my military service. I was able to, ending in my service, being in Iraq and being able to know a lot of the places that our young vets are visiting now. And just able to now come out and spend the rest of my time serving veterans and helping them navigate the bureaucracy of paper that stands between them and access to their benefits.
This is a great place for a veteran to start.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they should totally end here, because there's all kinds of different stuff, but to start out, they need to know what they can do.
And the key part is here, your local tax dollars is what funds our office.
Exactly.
We don't get any federal funding. We get a very small state outreach grant every year, about $10,000. But we're fully funded by the citizens of McLeod County. So as a tax-paying citizen, you should be coming in and taking advantage of those services. We don't charge for anything that we do. If we need to make copies of a document, we'll make the copies. If something needs to be mailed off, we'll mail it off. It takes some of your time, it takes some resources in helping us track down some documents, but you're never going to get a bill from the county for our services.
Exactly.
And there are some companies out there that are more than willing to charge you for navigating these processes.
Oh yeah, somebody's always willing to say, hey, if you give me some money, I'll go find out who you are. This way they can come in and they can say, okay, this is what I have, this is when I was in, and this is what I'm looking for. Like you said before, not every veteran is going to qualify for every veterans program, but to know what it is they can actually qualify for or how you can help them is a start.
Right.
And that's another very good point you make. Sometime in the past, somebody may have looked into one program and find out they didn't qualify. That doesn't mean they don't qualify for that same program or something different today, because the legislation and the rules change all the time. That's a lot of what we do in our training is keeping up to date with all of those changes. Most recently, and I know we mentioned this before we sat down, is there's been a lot of changes in benefits for veterans, Vietnam era veterans. There's new service-connected disabilities have been added to Agent Orange exposures, veterans serving in the Gulf exposure to burn pits and other ideas. Those things are constantly changing. Not to mention that new programs are appearing all the time.
Now, I know one of the things that we talked to is you not only work with the veterans, you work with the veterans' families. Can you specify a little bit more about how it is that you deal with veterans' families?
I mean, most of the time you're going to find that when we're working with the families is unfortunately after the passing or when they're in the process of going into in-home care or long-term care. That's when the families seem to get involved.
Which is something they really need, is somebody to be there with them.
Right, and that's why it's really important. That's why I think it's really important with the whole documentation is getting that all set up so that when it comes to that point in time, if your family doesn't know where that is, hopefully we have that on file to make it an easier process.
Okay.
But that's where you'll find that we work a lot with the families is unfortunately at that later part of life. Or, I mean, you do have it where they're involved when it comes to service-connected compensation. You know, adding them to the claims, getting them in, making sure their other dependents are on there as well. But that's where you'll see that we work a majority of the time is getting towards the end of life and after they have passed, unfortunately. So, and the different benefits that are entitled to them at that time.
Just today, got a call from the spouse of a deployed service member. Running into some problems on getting an ID card, which covers her health care and a lot of other things, and helping start that process going. A lot of times the surviving spouse may actually have eligibility for more veterans than a veteran did when he was living. If his death's related to service, a lot of times the financial assistance programs, when a husband and wife, one passes, all of a sudden the income in that family goes down. But the expenses can stay very significant. So sometimes there's programs that a spouse is eligible for that a veteran even wasn't. And a lot assume that, well, he was the vet, she was the vet, they're the ones entitled to the benefits, I was just a family member. Well, just because a veteran's passed doesn't stop what we do. And a lot of it, as Brianna says, is helping spouses and family members understand there are some additional entitlements that go past the grave.
Exactly, because there are a lot of times I know veterans, when they leave, it's like the family goes, okay, now what about what do we do?
Right. I
So-
think that's why I'm a really big advocate when you have veterans coming into your office and they're wanting to file or look into filing compensation, and there's certain things that they're not wanting to file for or they're hesitant on. It's not just about you at that time, it's also what happens if this is the reason why you pass. What does that provide to your family going forward? So that's something that when I sit down with veterans, I'm definitely huge on making sure that they understand it's not just them too, it's also their surviving dependents that they should be looking out for, because it will help in the future the different benefits that they could be entitled to because they went through that process getting service connected. So,
And then you help with funeral arrangements or
not
graveside?
necessarily the arrangements, but we do work in conjunction with the funeral homes, and then where the different benefits that they might be entitled to for burial allowance, the different things we work with the funeral home to let them know, so when the family comes in, they can know, and then they come into our office for certain things too.
A lot of times it's providing the information and documentation that the funeral home needs. I mean, most of the local funeral homes know how the national and state cemeteries work. They know how to arrange government markers. They're in contact with the local veterans groups that provide military honors. They need the documentation. And then there's some forms that need to be done. Everything needs paperwork, right?
Of course.
So a lot of what we provide is we'll get the paperwork done, so it's with the funeral homes. When the funeral home sits down with the family, there's just a couple extra signatures that need to be done, and it's transparent. We let the funeral home do a lot of those kinds of things. It becomes a real challenge when families try to do it all themselves.
Yes.
And there's a move towards that. And we watch a lot of families struggle when they're trying to do that and they don't have an advocate. So we can help out by pointing to, again, the right organization, the right contact numbers, and helping with documentation when we have it, if we have it, or if we can find it.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, that can be a real part of our focus.
So basically, the sooner people can come in and actually get their paperwork started, if they haven't already, the better off they are in the long run for both themselves and their families. So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today?
The biggest thing is if you want to find out about your benefits, you want to find out some general information, you can give us a call. You can go to our website, McLeod County Veteran Services. It's on the county website. We have our own Facebook page. It includes new information, what's up. It talks about upcoming events that you might be interested in.
Okay.
You know, this evening there's a woman veterans webinar.
Yep.
Online.
Yep.
We've got it advertised there, so you can get those links to be able to do that. What's happening in the local area, what's happening in the state. So you can see that, and you can learn about a lot of those benefits, or you can give us a call. That's probably the easiest way. And again, we said we'll show that information there.
Exactly.
We're in the phone book under McLeod County Government. Don't look under VA, like I said at the very outset. Look under McLeod County Government, and you'll find our number there. Feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. We can meet with you here in Glencoe.
Okay.
We have a satellite office in Hutchinson where we see people by appointment. We schedule those appointments in advance. We are available during normal work hours here, but we also have extended hours on Thursday nights.
Oh, nice.
Where for people that are working, we can see you in the evening up to 7 p.m. And we'll do that by appointment again, coordinating that ahead of time. With a lot of people these days, we can do things by video conference, we can do things by telephone. If we need to, we'll come and visit you at home or in your nursing home,
Nice.
where you need to be. But we don't know that you need us until you contact us.
Exactly. And that's every branch of service.
Correct, even the Space Command.
There we go. There we go. And Brianna, is there anything you'd like to?
I just think that, more we can get out, that there's these benefits that are out there, and getting more people the benefits they deserve is a huge thing. So when you find people who've been in Vietnam or, prior service to that, and they had no idea these benefits are out there, I think that's just, it's sad. So I want us to be able to reach out as best as we can. So thank you for letting us be here today so that we
my
can get it
pleasure.
out. So we want people to come on in so we can get them taken care of.
Exactly. The best thing we can do is help our vets. Well, I think that's about all we have for today. I want to thank you both, and
It's a
good
pleasure.
luck with working with the vets. And
Thanks.
thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.